I, male, nearly adult, live in a toxic household, and I contribute to that, but I want to know if I'm the idiot for this part of it. So my parents were married and seemed happy when everything fell apart. My mom found out she had a brain tumour, and on that same day she found out my dad was sleeping with her best friend. I was a tween at the time, and for about 5 weeks life was chaotic with my dad and Hayley, who was supposed to be my mom's best friend, trying to get her to forgive them. My mom started having seizures because of the tumour, and I think because of the stress too. She died 5 weeks and 2 days after she was diagnosed with her brain tumour. My dad and Hayley moved in together after my mom died, and they decided they would try to raise me and my sister together. My sister was a pre-tween at the time, and my dad said she took her cues from me. However, we didn't accept Dad and Hayley, and we often acted up. I yelled at them, called them names, refused to listen when they asked me to do something, and I told other people what they'd done. All of Dad's friends, all of Hayley's friends, and our neighbours knew, mostly because of me. I interrupted their wedding a bunch. My sister did, but not as much. We wanted to live somewhere else, and they refused. They got us all into therapy, and I didn't put any work into fixing things. My dad and Hayley had 2 kids, and I refused to help or care. I made a point of telling or showing what they are and what I think of them. For my dad, that meant cutting him out of photos, and I say every now and again that I'll change my last name to Mom's. She never changed hers when they married, and I talk about my maternal grandpa being the man I want to be most like because he's the best guy I know. But with Hayley, I reminded her every time that she was supposed to be Mom's best friend, and she was a backstabber who cheated with my dad instead. And I do this in front of other people if she tries to act like my parent or take praise for my good behaviour around other people. She told me I needed to stop bringing it up several times, but I ignored her. I tell her I won't ever stop. Her aunt died last week, and she told me I needed to help around the house more while she was with her mom and her cousins. I refused, and she told me this is what the oldest sibling and oldest child do. And I reminded her I wasn't hers and brought up the affair again. She broke down, and I told her I didn't feel sorry for her, and she told me she felt guilty enough and like Mom haunted her enough, and she said I was doing nothing but driving her crazy and making her feel like she had to isolate from everyone because otherwise the whole world would know with the way I act. She told me I was bullying her and that I should go after Dad and not her. I told her I'd go after them until I could cut them out of my life for good. Then I told her she didn't deserve to have a happy life after what she did. My aunt, Dad's sister, came over after Hayley called her, and she asked me to stop bringing it up. She told me Hayley and my dad don't need to be forgiven, but that reminding Hayley like this and shaming her and making it difficult for her to have relationships where people won't know and judge isn't okay because the kids she and Dad have together will suffer. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Do you and your sister have another relative that you can live with? If so, I think it's time your dad lets you go. You experienced an enormous trauma and still have not healed. It really seems like you will not recover until you don't live with your dad and stepmom. Yeah, I agree with you. Sometimes healing just isn't possible in the same environment that caused the pain. Getting space might be the only way forward. Kid, you're so angry with their deception and pretending to be decent people. They thought they could just sweep this under the rug and earn respect. Nope. I agree with you that they are shameless and gross. Scumbags don't deserve respect. Sounds like Dad's refusing to let them go. This is crappy, but he's probably operating on the delusion that if he can convince OP to accept his trashy ways, then he isn't as big of a cheating scumbag as he is, and that he didn't kill OP's mom from the stress. 'Cause even if it's a brain tumour, which the mom found out she had at the same time as his affair went public, those can still potentially be operated on, and those that do have operations can survive and thrive perfectly normally. And while it's still trashy to have an affair while someone's dying of cancer, he doesn't even have that excuse because she found out alongside the diagnosis. They also basically killed his mother. I know brain tumour, blah blah, but honestly, the heartbreak, betrayal and stress would have made it so much worse. Emotional stress is a well-documented trigger for seizures. Sorry, OP, and you're not the idiot. Make your plans already because you and your sister will need robust plans to fall on once you can finally leave their house. I, 28 female, had a huge promotion at work recently. I was excited about my promotion but chose to keep it to myself because I tend to be private about money. I've been living with my roommate, 29 female, for over 3 years. We split the cost of our apartment 50-50, but she earns far less than I do at her non-profit job. Last week I accidentally left my laptop open and she saw my bank account and my new balance. She confronted me immediately. She was upset that I didn't tell her about my promotion and now wants me to pay 80% of the rent because I earn so much more than her. I told her that I did not. We agreed on a 50-50 split when we started living together, and I don't think my salary changes the 50-50 agreement. I also have student loan payments that she does not. She brought it up again yesterday, saying it's the right thing to do and I'm being selfish. I reminded her that I also buy the vast majority of groceries and also pay most of our utility bills without problems. I don't think my financial success now obligates me to subsidize her housing. She chose her career path with the understanding of the salary limitations. Am I the idiot for not wanting to pay more rent now that I got a raise in my career? Not the idiot. Why do you support her? Are you married? Are you planning to marry? Are you planning a life together? You're roommates, not spouses. If she gets use of 50% of the apartment, then she should pay 50% of the cost for being in that apartment. If she can't afford the rent there, then that is her problem to fix, not her roommates. She sounds emotionally immature, expecting other people to make up for her deficiencies and give her a more comfortable life. If the roles were reversed, what would your expectations be for her and her money? Reversing the roles can help you be fair to both yourself and her. Also, caving into toxic immaturity doesn't help. It enables people to be more immature and delays their healthy natural growth. If she refuses to grow up, you might need to find a new roommate or new living situation. And I find it hard to imagine she just happened to notice your bank balance when passing your laptop rather than noticing it was open and choosing to look. I'd consider that a gross violation of my privacy and would find it impossible to ever trust the person again. Imagine signing a contract with a rental agency and on top of the yearly price increase, they access your bank account or social media and adjust it based on your income. Yeah, we saw you posting on Facebook you got a raise, so we increased the renting price. That's what your roommate is doing. I love it when entitled idiots push beyond their means. OP was already paying for more with groceries and utilities. If I were OP, I'd start going back to 50-50 immediately and find a new roommate. She's been too nice for too long. When OP finally decides that the situation isn't worth dealing with and decides to move to a place by herself, her roommate's world is going to come crashing down, hard, if she can barely afford what she's paying now. Me and my husband Shane share a large home near a beach. We initially bought it thinking we were going to have kids but ended up deciding against it. So since we have multiple spare bedrooms and it's near the beach, I let my siblings and their kids use the house as a holiday house for when they go on holidays. Recently, my brother Tim and his 3 kids, Bessie, who's a tween, Jimmy, who's also a tween, and Timpson, who's a young teen, spent the weekend here while Tim's wife was working and my husband and I were going camping. Recently, Jimmy has developed an interest in money. He celebrated his birthday last month and didn't hesitate to show everyone in the family his savings, which he accumulated from pocket money and his birthday money. I didn't realize that his interest in money extended to my coin collection, which I keep in one of the spare rooms, and when we got home on Sunday, I found Jimmy and Bessie playing shopkeeper with some of my previously uncirculated shillings. But he stopped when I told him those were rare coins and that they were actually my belongings, not his to keep. He gave me the shillings back, and upon inspection I realized he'd polished them. I asked him what he did, and he said he accidentally touched them after eating without washing his hands, but it was okay because he brushed them clean with soap and water. At this point, I got a bit cross and tried to explain that his polishing of my rare coins made their value plummet, but Tim stepped in to defend Jimmy, saying, "You can't get too mad at him. He's young and he just loves money. Surely the coins can be restored." I was really unhappy about this and explained to Tim that Jimmy had reduced the value of my coin collection by about £200 by doing this. He started to get mad at me and asked whether I cared more about my coin collection or my nephew. I was not going to be berated in my own home, so I told Tim and his kids that they had to vacate the house early and I would only feel comfortable having him as a house guest again if he provided an apology letter from Jimmy. After they left, Shane and I searched through the coin collection to ensure that no other coins had been vandalized. We found that a gold sovereign was missing from the collection. I called Tim and he told me that Jimmy, Bessie and Timpson were playing with it at the beach, but it got lost. At this point I was furious because that coin was worth a lot of money, and I said that Tim would have to replace the coins that his kids either lost or vandalized before they would be welcome in my home again. Tim told me that he didn't have the money to do that because he needed that money to buy Jimmy a new phone, and I said that I didn't care and I would report it as theft if the coins were not replaced. Absolutely not the idiot. It's incredibly expensive to take a family of 5, you've given them somewhere to enjoy holidays together without breaking the bank, and they can't even be bothered to parent their children enough to stop them rooting through your belongings and losing or damaging your things. If they'd realised the kids were previously playing with rare collectible coins and that they'd lost a sovereign, why on earth were they continuing to let the kids play with the coins again? It's bad enough if they didn't know, but they clearly did know and let it continue. I wouldn't be letting them stay again. These parents have no respect for you, your belongings, or the kindness you've shown them by letting them use your house. I'm going with everyone's the idiot here. Your family is the idiot because, frankly, at that age, a child should know what is theirs and what is not theirs and ask for permission before playing with things that are not theirs. If the kids haven't been taught to do that, then the parents really do have to accept responsibility. You're the idiot a bit as well, though unless little Jimmy is an expert lockpick already, those coins were not only out in the open but in a container or cabinet, etc. That was easily accessible to any tween wandering around. They should have been safely locked up somewhere to avoid accidental damage, theft, etc. It doesn't excuse Jimmy for what happened, but you have to take some of the responsibility here. Disagree. Jimmy is not a small child and should certainly know better than to rummage through other people's belongings by that age. You shouldn't have to lock up every single thing you own in your house from a kid old enough to know better. And the parents knew they were playing with OP's stuff and didn't care. OP, give brother a deadline for the coins to be replaced. Tell him if you don't have the money or the replacement coins, you will be filing a police report. Then do it if he doesn't comply. I had a son when I was younger who turned out to have cerebral palsy, as well as some developmental delays and needed some extra care. Back then I needed all the help I could get, so my family treated my son like a community project, which was greatly appreciated at the time, but lately it's been seeming like there are too many cooks in the kitchen. While my son grew up, my sister got a degree in special needs education and started teaching a special needs elementary class. Over the years, my sister has been increasingly giving my wife and me more and more unsolicited advice on how to parent our son. This is fine in theory, but instead of taking us aside and offering her professional opinion, she tends to actively disregard the way we want to teach my son, doing so in a condescending manner. For example, when my son was being rude, I corrected him and sent him to his room. My sister stepped in and said, "Don't send him to his room, he doesn't know what he's doing." Another example is, lately we've been trying to promote independence in him, so when my son said he was thirsty, I said, "So go get yourself some water." My sister said, "Oh, I'll get it." So I respectfully responded to her saying, "Actually, can he get it himself? We're trying to teach him independence." She answered, "No, he can't do it himself." Our son even protested and said he wanted to do it himself, but she sternly turned him down only to get him his own water. There have been numerous little moments that have built up between my wife and me over time, to the point where we sat her down and had to talk boundaries with her. However, it all came to a head again last Christmas when we visited my family. The entire trip was filled with condescending corrections from my sister. The last straw was when my son had a meltdown and he marched into his room. I said I was going to talk to him, but she stopped me and said, "No, don't, he needs to calm down." My wife and I exploded at the same exact moment, telling her to stop telling us what to do and how to do it. She argued with us, saying that it's her job, and we've repeatedly disrespected the fact that she has a degree in this. We told her that she doesn't know what it's like to be a parent and how being a teacher is completely different. My sister ended up marching to her room in the middle of the argument, and I ended up consoling my wife, who had become frustrated and started crying. Unfortunately, we had to leave for the airport right away, so we went up to apologize to my sister for yelling, but my sister was silent and didn't reciprocate. That was now 6 months ago. My only contact with my sister is through my mom, since my sister won't answer texts. My mom's opinion is that nothing needs to be talked about because time will heal all wounds. My wife and I think that would fester into resentment, which is upsetting to us because we're planning to have more kids soon and don't want this issue arising with them again. Am I the idiot here? As a special educator, I worry that your sister may not be doing her job well. Fostering independence, in whatever capacity the child can achieve that, is one of our foremost goals. Your sister is enabling your son to use his disability as an excuse to rely on everyone for everything. You and your wife know what he can and cannot do, and it seems like you're doing a great job of helping him become independent and a good citizen. You're not the idiot. I would have a discussion with your sister and set some very firm boundaries for seeing her going forward. It sounds like the sister just wants the son dependent on her, to be honest. I was shocked reading some of the things she's saying. They run opposite to every special educator I've ever met. My mother has cerebral palsy, and I'm forever grateful that my grandparents didn't act like your sister. My mom wasn't coddled. She was encouraged to try anything at least once and to be as independent as possible. Your sister should seriously go back to school if that's what she's doing with her own students. OP, it's her job when she's at work. You aren't paying her, and you didn't ask for her help at that moment. So no, it's not her job to intervene or push her expertise on you. She might have a degree, but that doesn't make her an expert in every special needs child or situation. She's not a doctor, a psychologist, an occupational therapist, or even a parent of a special needs child. Her knowledge and experience are limited, and even if they weren't, you and your wife still have the final say concerning your child. You've tried to set boundaries and she will not respect them. You have no choice but to limit contact until she can respect you two as parents. Exactly this. I would copy this and send it to your sister and mom. Tell her you want to be a loving aunt, not your son's teacher or healthcare provider. If you want her advice, you should ask her. Keep doing what you are doing. Your sister is wrong.